to the Boldcastify College Series, Episode 10. My name's Clay.
Mark, how you doing?
My name's Jay.
Well, we're going to start y'all off with the top four of the college football playoff poll. We got Alabama at 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Clemson 4, 2 outside looking in, Louisville and Washington. Thoughts?
Well, I don't see Michigan lasting too much longer, so enjoy it while you got it, Michigan.
Because of Wilton Spate's shoulder?
Yeah, that's breaking news to me. That's depressing for Michigan and the big blue faithful.
Yeah, Harbaugh is going to not go to the NFL because of this.
The backup quarterback for them would be John O'Corn, a grad transfer from Houston.
Ooh, that does not sound
That's
very
not good
promising.
at all.
But other than that, I don't really see that much of a shock. I mean, Mark was saying that Penn State could make the leap, but even that I feel is kind of a long shot.
I didn't say I think Penn State would make the leap. I'm just saying, in reality, they would win the division. Actually, if Ohio State and Penn State went out because of tiebreaker.
Right, that would make sense.
That was all I was making mention of earlier.
Right, because they would have the better better conference record in the East of the Big Ten.
The controversy to me is Michigan still being in at number 3 when they lost to an Iowa team that lost early in the year to FCS North Dakota State.
Yeah, that is kind of a shock too.
That is a bit of a shock.
And I thought Clemson and Louisville would both be in over Michigan. Clemson thankfully is in, but I thought Louisville would be in over Michigan. I thought Michigan should have dropped to 5.
It's one of those things. They'll work its way out.
Yeah, because just for the simple fact that they lost their quarterback already, it's pretty much game over. I mean, it is what it is at that point.
The only problem is they're playing an Indiana team, and they're playing at home in Indiana. To me, I wonder, are they talented enough, even with Wilton Spate being on the shelf?
The only thing
that's to be determined.
The only team, like you said, Washington at number 6, looks as if there's no major upsets like there were last week besides Michigan failing. Washington looks like it's going to be on the outside looking in.
Speaking of Washington, another team that currently right now does not control its destiny in the Pac-12 North, because actually they're a game behind Washington State.
What?
Yeah, Washington State right now is actually undefeated in the Pac-12 North.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Washington actually has to beat Washington State to get in the
Pac-12
title game, and they're playing in the Palouse 2 weeks from now.
Wow.
So
they got schooled pretty well by USC, 26-13.
And in the Palouse, yeah, anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm sure anything can.
In the Apple Cup.
Yeah, is that what they call it? The Palouse?
The Palouse is the home for Washington State, yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And that's the region that it's in.
But, digressing back to the subject at hand, the loss for Clemson to Pittsburgh, that's
mind-blowing. And the fact they only dropped two spots for unranked Pitt is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, Pitt, the only thing they really got is they beat Penn State near the beginning of the season.
And almost beat Oklahoma State, too.
Yes, but
Oklahoma State's, they're all right. They're pretty good, but they're not the Oklahoma State we've seen in previous years.
A middle-of-the-road ACC team, but that's the thing. The ACC is a league, basically, where no team is safe, or at least that's what it seems like this year.
So it's been like that for a number of years.
Well, I'm saying especially this year.
Yeah, especially this year.
There's not really much of a talent gap when you get from the top couple to...
Well, it's definitely showing in November.
Yeah.
Everyone's catching up to everybody. There's no reason Clemson should have lost at home on senior day.
Exactly. I understand.
To a team that they were a 21-point favorite to.
Chris Blewett making a 48-yard field goal after he missed an extra point earlier in the game.
That's
crazy. He missed an extra point earlier in the game, but then at the very end of the game...
That's a moot point. There's no reason they should have even been in that kind of point.
Yeah, they're a 21 plus favorite.
Yes, on Senior Day.
The strategy that they used to beat
They could have
Clemson,
clinched the Atlantic Division right here with that win.
I'll tell you, the strategy they used against Clemson that worked was what they did was they ran the ball well, and then they used it to set up the play action pass, and Nate Peterman in play action basically tore them apart.
All right, with that, let's look at some of the rest of the big losses on Saturday.
Had Michigan losing at Iowa on a 33-yard field goal.
Yeah, Iowa controlled a lot of that game, all the way from the safety going on.
Yeah, which is why I don't understand, the draw. See, Western Michigan, of course, staying undefeated last Tuesday against Kent State. A little action.
Little action, huh? Wow.
Yeah, one of only two teams that's still undefeated, by the way. PJ Fleck still rowing the boat.
He'll row the boat somewhere to another job in the offseason.
Oh, he should. Utah over Arizona State, but then Duke over North Carolina. That was a shocker. But of course, that's Tobacco Road.
That's a Tobacco Road rivalry. It's been years in the making. You can never count that one out.
Friday night, Florida State basically taking Boston College to the woodshed.
Which pretty well was as expected.
Yeah, I didn't expect
First time played a home game at the Doak since, 58, I think it was? 57?
It's been a while. And then let's see, Saturday, you had Alabama basically blowing the doors off Mississippi State. Baylor, the collapse is continuing.
Well,
what's going to be said about that with Jim Grove? I mean, what?
I think we'll get into that a little bit later.
Well,
all right.
I just think that Baylor was in a suck situation to begin with.
Right.
It is what it is. Whatever they got out of the season was a wash.
So what you're saying is a push season.
Yeah. Seth Russell got hurt
because.
Oh really?
Because wasn't I under the impression that coach that they brought in was like a Band-Aid to cover a bullet wound?
Jim Grove's a Band-Aid.
Yes, Jim Grove's temporary.
So I like Jim Grove, but still, yeah.
Well, so it was going to be like a 1 to 2 year deal, right?
Yeah. Well, I've heard rumors they might get the death penalty. I've heard rumors that might actually happen. South Carolina losing to Florida. Florida getting the job done.
Yeah, for once, Gator fans are actually happy with Muschamp.
West Virginia barely escaping Texas. Texas has been kind of a schizo team the last couple of years.
Yes, because Charlie Strong, and I hear rumors that Charlie Strong is on the outside looking in here very shortly.
He will be on the outside looking in.
Which is sad because he's a good coach, but I don't know if that was a good fit for him.
No, it really wasn't. He was under immense pressure.
Yeah. Penn State had to rally in the fourth quarter to get through Indiana.
Hoosiers.
But they look what they did. They pulled through.
As I said, Indiana was leading going into the
now
fourth
Georgia
quarter.
Auburn.
That was a bit of a shocker. Yeah, between the hedges.
Yeah,
literally.
Well, Auburn and Georgia.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then Texas
oldest rivalry in the South.
Yeah, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Texas Tech missed an extra point when they had a chance to tie it at the end of that game.
Oh, they missed an extra point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang, that's going to suck.
With the chance to tie it at the end. Passing yards galore, by the way. There were like 800 passing yards in that game.
Once again, Big 12 where defense is
optional. Wisconsin taking cellar dweller Illinois to the woodshed. That doesn't surprise anybody.
Yeah,
Illinois is terrible.
Who's the coach at Illinois?
Let's see.
Who even cares at this point?
Yeah.
It's the former Buccaneer head coach, Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith.
And Chicago Bears head coach.
Yeah.
Oh,
First year. He's
still.
kind of inherited a crappy roster.
Yeah.
That team was in the cellar last year. Ohio State, big over Maryland. Maryland's probably not going to make a bowl game this year, so.
Probably not.
What's their record? Do you guys know?
Click on it. Yeah, 5-5.
All they got to do is win one more game in the next three.
But they definitely don't look like they've lost like their last three.
No, they've been pretty pitiful.
I did not know this until earlier today. That all you got to do is win 6 games and you get a bowl game.
Yeah,
Troy, you don't have to do much.
Troy over App State. Troy back in the rankings. Troy is a one-loss team. Their only loss was to Clemson early this year.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
LSU over Arkansas, big in the battle for the Golden Boot.
Yeah, they did not get much of a fight out of Arkansas, which is kind of disappointing.
Arkansas kind of laid down.
Yeah.
And Boise State, big over Hawaii. Hawaii's nobody. Louisville had to scratch a claw a little bit, but
Yeah, they did.
They pulled away in the fourth quarter against Wake.
The score's not very indicative of the way the game was.
Yeah. Wake gave them a game for the first 3 quarters, and then
going into the fourth quarter, Wake was leading the game.
Yeah, and then they just gave up the ghost.
The depth just wasn't there.
And then Ole Miss with the upset over Texas A&M in the battle of the backup quarterbacks.
Well, I don't necessarily know if that's even.
I think I missed that one.
Shea Patterson got the start for Chad Kelly because Chad Kelly's down for the year,
Right.
and so is Trevor Knight for the most part down for the year. So
Knight's out too.
So it's better in seconds.
Hubenak was starting for A&M. So
Man,
yes.
A&M, another one.
Yeah, Nebraska
Down from
barely.
grace.
Yeah, Nebraska barely escaping the Fighting Tracy Clays, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember now.
USC over Washington.
That not as much of a shocker as most people think.
Well, I mean,
I had USC in that game.
Yeah, I did myself. It didn't really shock me too much because the way USC's been playing with the new quarterback.
Yeah, Michigan and Iowa. That one shocked me because Iowa hasn't exactly been to form this year,
No.
or at least up to the standard we expect from a Kirk Ferentz football team.
But once again, you can't count out a Kirk Ferentz football team.
Washington State taking Cal to the woodshed. Poor Davis Webb and Luke Falk probably threw for, I don't know, about 800 yards in that game, too.
Yeah. All over him.
Yeah. Davis Webb for Cal, Luke Falk for Washington State. Colorado big over Arizona. Poor Rich Rod just doesn't have the talent this year.
No, he doesn't. I'm hearing he may be out.
Yeah, San Diego State over Nevada. Name that's coming up on Heisman radars, Donnell Pumphrey.
Who's that?
The running back for San Diego State.
Okay.
Coming up as a dark horse for Heisman.
Michigan State shut up Rutgers.
Well, Rutgers has been pretty much shut out most of the Big Ten season.
They have been shut out, I want to say 187 or 180 something.
Like 185 to nothing against Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
Man, if I was them,
It would be time to fold the football program.
Yes.
And Kansas losing to Iowa State, the futility there. Kansas actually led that game going into the fourth quarter.
Wow.
And
that's where their player hit in the end zone.
yeah. The most hilarious play of the weekend, by the way.
I definitely would suggest looking it up. Their player on a kick return hit in the end zone.
Yeah.
And then just came shot out of the end zone, got the ball. They weren't ready for it.
They were not.
You got a ball about 40 yards in the return.
Yeah.
Tennessee over Kentucky, 49-36.
Well,
Tennessee still right. If
Hold
Florida
on.
loses and Tennessee wins, Tennessee wins the East.
Yeah. Well, eliminated Kentucky from the East.
Yep.
UCF over the Knights.
I believe
UCF
UCF is
over
now bowl eligible.
Yes, I believe they are.
Scott Frost doing a little work there.
Yes, he is.
They
They
over
had,
Nebraska quarterback.
they had some commemorative helmets for the week.
Yeah, but no bowl worth anything really.
Yeah, nothing really much else besides that. NC State over Cuse.
Miami over Virginia. How about Georgia Tech? The Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech, and they're a hell of an engineer.
Yep, they beat the other Tech school.
Upsetting Virginia Tech.
Yeah, because Virginia Tech was going in hot and heavy on that game.
The triple option. Notre Dame taking Army to the woodshed.
Yep. So they at least got one of the
service academies.
Yeah.
Stanford over Oregon. Not a surprise.
52-27 though. Wow.
Oregon has been pitiful this year.
Oregon's been really
Look
good.
at that score right there. Wyoming and UNLV. That's basketball scores. 69-66 UNLV.
Well, I guess defense in a lot of places is very optional.
Idaho over Texas State. Idaho will be in FCS in 2018.
So they're dropping
Florida Atlantic.
South Florida over Memphis.
Oh, yeah. Florida Atlantic over Utah.
Yep. FAU. Yes, but South Florida.
And UCLA beat the Beavers.
I want to say South Florida controls their own destiny, and they're part of the American now. With that win over Memphis.
Oh, yeah. So with that, what do you think about the big losses, people?
I mean,
There were some big. This was the first time since 1985 that 3 top 5 teams went down.
I'll give you another one, actually, at the D3 level. All right. Some of y'all have heard of Mount Union, the Purple Raiders, the most dominant Division III program in the country. And the biggest win streak in all of college football fell last weekend to John Carroll, the Blue Streaks, by the way. 31-28. First loss in the regular season for Mount Union since 2005.
Wow.
And the first time, and John Carroll is the conference champion in the Ohio Athletic Conference for the first time since '94. The last time a school other than Mount Union won that conference.
It's been a while. I'll be honest, folks. It's been a long time.
By the way, the most notable grad for John Carroll to play football. How about London Fletcher?
What about the other one, Mount Union?
Mount Union, Pierre Garçon, Cecil Shorts.
The third.
yeah.
All right.
That.
Let's take a look at Florida State University.
And Mount Union 222-2 since 1995, by the way, in the regular season.
Wow, that's impressive.
Florida State. I mean,
Playing.
they are what they are.
Yep, we've pretty well established what we are this year.
I'll say DeAndre Francois had his best game of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones. I mean, he's been pretty consistent.
But the line
stood up.
Still leaves a lot to desire.
The line
line's
will get
crap.
better in this offseason.
Yeah,
Well,
it's definitely allowed for the post separation.
They might have to change out the left side of the line a little bit because I know
Yeah, there's a lot of things they have to do.
R goes bye-bye at the end of the year.
Right.
And Johnson may go early, may not. The left tackle. So
What about Eberle?
Eberle's only a sophomore this year. And so is Brock Rubel, the right tackle, is only a sophomore as well. Landon Dickerson, who went down for the season, was only a true freshman.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
So he'll probably get better. Sophomores and freshmen will get better.
Right.
Now, the thing with Francois is that was the best I had seen him look throwing the football consistently.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. He's been looking good throughout the year. He just doesn't have the time because that line beats him up.
That was the first game I didn't see him short on passes, is what I'm trying to get at. I actually saw him.
We can agree to disagree on that one, as we have many times, sir.
His accuracy was the best I'd seen it all season. How's that?
Well, when you don't have that much time, how accurate can you be?
You keep getting punched in the face every time you go to take a drink of beer. By the time you go take a sip of beer, you're going to be a little hesitant to get that sip of beer.
Or if I get punched in the face every time I sip scotch.
Whatever you want to sip. So, we can keep on with Florida State football, but we'll disagree at this moment.
Yeah.
Now, let's get on to some other news about Florida State. Jimbo Fisher.
I don't think he's leaving.
Well, Louisiana State has been courting him hard once again for the third time, it seems like. At least second time.
And
already turned him down a couple times. So.
Yes, he has.
Supposedly rumored out there he's looking for $7 million guaranteed. This would be like $2 million more than what
he currently makes.
Yeah, currently makes, which would put him dang near the top,
almost Saban Meyer level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
and LSU's got the money, so I mean, it's just a matter of them working out the contract details,
and the buyout.
Yeah, and the buyout. Buyout is exorbitant, right?
But it's not what they had to pay with Les now, because now they just got rid of Les. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though,
and you know they want to win.
Well, from what I've heard, Florida State will match whatever LSU will put.
I don't know. $7 million is getting a little steep.
Number two, though, why would you leave Florida State for LSU? Well, Florida State's a better job.
Well, he's always wanted to play in the SEC, from what everyone's always told me, even ACC people.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you want to win, FSU is a better job.
I'm not going to just deny the fact I believe FSU is a better job.
And prestige, FSU is a better job right now.
LSU is not a bad job. I mean, let's be real.
Prestige-wise.
But, I mean, the thing is, behind the scenes, LSU has got a lot of issues.
Yes,
Behind the scenes.
with the state funding and all
Yeah,
that
state
stuff
funding,
too.
all that
so
stuff.
in reality, the money might actually not really be there.
But it all depends at the end of the day what he really wants to do. And I'm going to agree with other people. I'm about tired of it. I mean, I love Jimbo. I love the fact of what he's done for the university. We had the 2013 national title and a nice winning streak.
That's probably that.
But I'm getting about fed up of all this stuff.
Me being a Florida fan, not an FSU fan, I can sympathize a little bit because it's just like it's like taking your girlfriend to the altar like 3 damn times and then being like
doing the Heisman
and
like no,
like and just jerking her chain, so to speak. And I feel like that's kind of wrong, you know. But I mean, I guess we'll find out here very, very shortly because I mean it's just a bowl game and three games away, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no championship this year.
Now,
it is kind of aggravating. We'll find more into it next week. We'll probably discuss candidates in case there is a possibility.
Yeah. Now, where does all this put the state of college football? I don't think it's that much changed from last week in reality, the state of football.
I mean, there's been some major upsets.
There were some upsets, but I'm saying it didn't really change a lot.
I think it made college football more watchable.
Yeah, it does. It does. And as I said, I was saying though, up at the top, there's not really much change. So in reality, it didn't really change the state of college football that much, or as much as a lot of people think.
Fair enough.
I'll say what might change the state of college football: the way the Big 12 is almost like seems like it's imploding on itself.
Now that I will agree, the Big 12 does have a lot of issues.
Now, if you look at the original founding of the Big 12 was kind of like almost like a shotgun wedding between the Big 8 and the richer half of the Southwest Conference.
Fair enough.
A lot of people, when I say richer half, I mean Baylor had some connections in the Texas legislature.
Right, of course.
That got them in. But you had the three of the state schools from Texas and Baylor. Baylor is kind of one of these things is not like the other school.
Right. Obviously, they weren't supposed to be part of it.
They're not a state school. They're a Baptist seminary. The biggest Baptist seminary in the country, but still a Baptist seminary, nonetheless.
I've been there at that school. I've been by that stadium. Stadium's pretty freaking massive.
But I'm saying,
Baylor?
the
new one or the old one?
The new one. Yeah, the new one. But what we're saying is compared to the other schools, though, enrollment's low.
Oh yeah, the enrollment. But I think that could have something to do with just them sucking.
They're private.
Well, private schools doesn't really affect that much anymore, does it?
When
Not really.
But at the time, you're looking at a bunch of schools that are state funded.
Because most private schools have more money than the state funded ones, anyways. At this point, I mean, there are some anomalies, but I mean,
when you look at the old Southwest Conference, the thing was you had the haves and the have-nots. The state schools were kind of the richer.
Well, it wasn't even really that matter.
And better players.
Right.
Whereas
I think I see what you're trying to say.
Programs are a lot more established and a lot better funded at the public colleges.
Well,
it wasn't really that much. There was a separation of not just the funding, but it was a separation of who had the deeper pockets in politics.
The Texas, the A&M, and the Tech grads had a lot more in the pockets than your SMU, TCU, Baylor, Houston,
yes.
Rice. Rice was a bunch of rich kids, but Rice was not a school that focused on athletics.
I was about to say, the school itself didn't focus on athletics. It was more academic.
And so are a lot of those privates, like your Rices, your SMUs, and your TCU. They're more academic.
Well, I don't even think. I think maybe back then they might have been, right?
Yeah, well, back then they were
to this day.
Back then they were more athletic in some aspects.
Well, because I know SMU,
but the problem
they got death penalty, and after they got death penalty, they went to straight being an academics.
Well, and basically what generally killed the
Southwestern Conference was the probation that throughout the 70s and 80s, they were taking turns on who was on probation. Yeah. The only 3 schools that were never on probation during that period were Arkansas, Baylor, and Rice.
Yeah.
Were the only ones.
And it looks like Baylor's going to take it up in the 2000s.
Oh, Baylor's about to.
They're about to get something awful.
I think the Big 12 is on its deathbed because you've already had Colorado leave, which was an original Big 8 member. Yes. You had Nebraska leave, which was a Big 8 member.
That's the one that started the whole boat.
Yeah.
Because Nebraska made it clear.
Same with Missouri.
Let's digress back. Because you've been all over the damn place. Yeah. When the Southwest Conference dissolved, or started to dissolve, they actually went to try to get Arizona and Arizona State to sustain
losses.
To actually get more sustainability.
Some TV money.
For TV money and all that good jazz. Before they went to join the Pac-10 at the time. Or Pac-8.
Pac-8. Yeah.
What made them the Pac-10. They were going to try to reel them in. They decided to go Pac-8. Become the Pac-10.
Yeah.
Because that would have made the conference stretch from Arizona to Arkansas.
Yeah. Which would have made an 11-team Southwest Conference.
Right.
But then Arkansas went to the SEC, said, peace.
And this is fast forward now. Yeah. About 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
That was in the 70s. Fast forward about 15 years after the death penalty of SMU. After
Houston being on probation.
Yeah, after half the schools being on probation, back and forth. Arkansas was already over it after the SEC announced their expansion.
And then South Carolina, basically, which I heard South Carolina only got the bid because Florida didn't want Florida State.
Yes, there was a number of schools, but that's a whole different subject.
The original one was supposed to be Arkansas and FSU.
Okay, but anyways, Arkansas was going in. They wanted out. So you already lost one major team there.
So the whole conference was now the Texas Conference.
Pretty much. That kind of killed the conference in one aspect because it was all in one state. And you only had a handful of major schools.
And then at the time, none of them in that conference were major schools.
Well, you had Texas.
You had Texas and you had A&M. A&M was actually the one winning the conference.
But I thought A&M got out.
No,
but not
Arkansas did.
Arkansas got out.
Which was actually their big boy at the time when they got out.
When they hopped out, then everyone already knew the SWC was on death's door, and they basically took a couple of their head honchos to the Big 8.
Well, the Big 8 was
and they kind of approached each other and batted it up.
The Big 8 originally had wanted a full merger. But then the TV network was like, nope, we're not going to take a full merger. So then they made an agreement. Hey, we're going to take 4 teams. Texas and Texas A&M have to come because they're your 2 biggest assets.
Right.
Who else are you going to bring along to the party? Okay, we're going to bring in Texas Tech and we're going to bring in Baylor because that's who runs the state legislature at that point. It wasn't agreed originally that it was supposed to be Houston. They thought they were going to get Texas Tech and Houston, the other 2 state schools.
Right. And somehow Baylor got roped in there.
And Baylor was kind of the redheaded stepchild from the day they got in. Because they basically almost replaced Kansas as the doormat.
Yes. They were not relevant until about 10 years ago.
And now, especially with all the sexual assault stuff, I think what's happening is Baylor is now becoming the SMU of the Big 12.
Yes.
They're going...
So, fast forward to now, this could be with the fact you've already lost Colorado.
You've lost Nebraska.
Nebraska was the first one. Nebraska wanted out because they were not getting along with Texas. As soon as they merged with the original Big 8,
Texas and Nebraska
they were butting heads. They were done with each other.
They hated each other from the start.
Right.
And then you had basically Missouri and Texas A&M had enough. Missouri actually thought they were going to get the Big Ten invite.
Yes, that kind of pissed them off.
And
Actually.
then when they didn't, Texas A&M was going to the SEC. They were like, hey, we need a dance partner. Missouri's like, hello, let's go.
Yeah.
And then Utah needed a dance partner to go to the Pac-12. So Colorado was like, all right, see you. So then they scrambled, grabbed West Virginia, and then against their best wishes, grabbed TCU because in reality they didn't want TCU that much. But
TCU was not a bad option. It was West Virginia is the one that did for network purposes.
Well,
TCU wasn't a bad.
I've heard TCU they had political. If they weren't desperate, they would have politically turned them down because the Texas schools don't. A lot of these schools don't want the Southwest Conference guys in.
Right.
I've heard rumors the reason why they declined expansion was because they were going to take Houston, but apparently the lieutenant governor of Texas said, "Hey, you're going to take Houston, you're going to take SMU." I heard a rumor about that.
Huh.
Yeah, the lieutenant governor wanted them to take SMU.
Well, I mean,
he's got to look out. He's got to look out for the best interests of his
state. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it is. And for the entire longevity of the Big 12, it is still going to be a Texas conference until it's dissolved, which it will be dissolved in the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And that's where we digress back to. The Big 12 is going to be gone.
But the problem is, a lot of the schools, if you take one school, you're taking a poison pill.
Well, not necessarily.
Because you don't think that
if you can actually break them up, and I'm not saying you can't take like a chunk like the Pac-12 was about to do. The Pac-12 came very close to taking
Texas
Tech,
and
A&M was already left.
Oh yeah, Texas Tech,
and the two Oklahoma schools.
Yeah, and Oklahoma and Okie State.
Well, and in the like 11th hour,
Texas and SC couldn't get along.
They couldn't get along, butted heads. Long story short, it didn't match up. That's why there's no Pac-16.
Yeah, and then another thing you have issues with is a lot of these schools are tied to each other by legislature.
Right.
I've heard the Big Ten was looking at Kansas, but they're being told, oh, you want Kansas? You have to take Kansas State, and they don't want Kansas State.
Well, you gotta take one good team, one crappy team.
No, they don't want Kansas State for academic reasons.
Yes, because the Big Ten is an AAU conference.
The only one that's not in the AAU now is Nebraska, and that's because Texas screwed them out of the
I thought they were in the AAU.
They were when they originally went to the Big Ten. The former president of Texas, who runs the AAU, screwed Nebraska out of that deal. If you look at the
well, next week we'll go over the teams and where they could possibly fall.
Yeah, definitely.
It could be interesting.
That's something I'm finding interesting because I really think Baylor's about to get the death penalty.
Something's going to happen.
I've heard rumors of death penalty.
Well, we will see. Well, in some college football news, Pitt loses safety Jordan Whitehead for the rest of the season after their win against Clemson.
The freshman of the year last year in the ACC. Yes. Cameron Petway was out last week for Auburn in their loss against Georgia. He will be out again to play against Alabama A&M.
And Fiesta Bowl announces PlayStation as their new title sponsor.
Interesting.
I believe they used to have Sunkist and Battle Frog or something.
Yeah, Battle Frog, yeah.
And of course, it used to be Tostitos forever. North Dakota State sends shots over the bow to Michigan over Iowa loss.
I'll laugh at that one. Baylor's statement, Art Briles says others had responsibility to report the rape incidents and didn't. But Art Briles is...
Well, I mean,
Art Briles may never coach again.
I mean, he's trying to make a bad situation look a little less worse on him.
Jim Harbaugh, Wilton Speight.
Wilton Speight questionable for Saturday. I think he's out because he's broke a collar.
I think he's out too. That's what I saw come across my phone.
Yeah, I was hearing
Todd Graham to return to Arizona State in 2017.
Shocked because I thought his seat might get hot because Arizona State is really struggling.
And Leonard Fournette says he's not ready for the National Football League.
Surprise, surprise.
I wonder if he's just placating at that point, because it would feel like Leonard Fournette is definitely ready.
He's going. If he's not gone to the NFL, then he's lost his mind.
I know, that's what it would seem like, right?
Yeah.
All right, now we got some Week 13. We got some action actually tonight. Bowling Green up on Kent State, 21-7 in the third.
Whew, that's
And
fun.
Central Michigan up on Ohio, 17-10.
Wow, that's impressive. And then coming up Thursday, we have number 3 Louisville
At Houston.
at Louisville.
Well,
At Houston.
number 5. Louisville,
Number
if
5,
you're using
whatever,
CFP.
depending on which one you're using. Yeah.
Louisville,
AP
Houston.
number 25.
All right, so
AP number 25.
who we got? Who we got our picks on here?
Well, we're gonna only pick a few teams here.
I'm picking Louisville over Houston.
Yeah.
Louisville.
Yeah, hands down.
I was thinking the Cougars on live support. They've been backing that train up for half a minute. All right, we have Oklahoma State, TCU.
Well, I'm gonna take the Cowboys.
All right, Cowboys it is. Roadrunners, A&M.
And blowout.
I think it's gonna be a little closer than you're talking. A&M's been the suck. Ohio State, Michigan, OhioTate, hands down.
Ohio State, Michigan State. Yeah, I'm taking Ohio State. Michigan State on their backup quarterback.
Florida going to LSU.
Well,
LSU.
But it's at 1 p.m.
Baton Rouge. I'm going LSU.
I'm going LSU too.
All right.
And plus, I just think they're that much more talented. Leonard Fournette is going to run.
Well,
Florida State, Syracuse.
FSU blowout. Syracuse is on their backup quarterback.
Blowout. Wow, that's impressive. All right. Florida State going to the Curia Dome. Going to get the win.
Wazoo and Colorado.
that could be a good game.
Yeah, that could be a solid game right there. I'm impressed. That's some good
let's see.
Pac-12 action.
Defense optional much possibly than that one.
Oh, what about the Alabama Chattanooga?
That's a rough one right there. I can't wait to see that one. Or Clemson Wake Forest.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a little bit better game than
It
it
is,
has been the last
actually.
couple of years, but I'm still
probably
going to
could
go
be.
Clemson.
Especially going to Wake Forest.
Yeah, well, that's not that long a trip.
I
Alright.
know.
All right, here. What about Allen Robinson's old home school?
Penn
College?
State?
Yeah.
Blowout.
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 They're going to add to the list.
I don't care if
No
it's
scores.
Piscataway or not.
And let's see what else we have. We have North Carolina and the Citadel. We have Virginia Tech going to South Bend, Indiana.
Virginia
I'm
Tech.
taking Va-Tech. I'm taking the Hokies. Taking some
Stanford
Hokies.
Cal.
The game.
The game.
Interesting.
All right, I got a couple
Give
questions.
me Cal for the upset.
Wow.
What do you guys think about FIU Marshall?
Wow.
Marshall.
Wow, I was gonna pick FIU.
Well,
Ole
FIU
Miss?
just lost. Speaking of news, FIU just lost their tight end basically for the
Yes.
season.
Yeah, because
Boiling water.
That's
boiling
his
water.
because his pregnant girlfriend had to daggone
Boil-
boiling water and then slap the crap out of him.
All right, and wrap it up. Our games of the week: Oklahoma at West Virginia, and USC at UCLA.
God, defense is going to be very, very optional in that Oklahoma and West Virginia game.
Yes, I'm expecting over and under of 65.
I'd say 70.
What about UCLA and USC? I think even though USC is ranked 15th, I think he comes out to the
Josh
game wire.
Rosen is not playing.
Oh, he's not?
I don't think he is.
Oh, I thought he was.
If he's
not playing, then USC all the way.
USC's going to blow the tar out.
We may pull that one off the list then. It's Oklahoma. I may go ahead and take Boomer Sooner.
Oklahoma and West Virginia. Skylar Howard has actually been throwing the ball very well for West Virginia. But also you got Baker Mayfield. I'm going to say over under 800 passing yards in this football game.
I like it.
And I'm actually going to take West Virginia.
I like it. Well, with that being said, thanks for joining us on the Boldcastify College Series. Good night.
Good night, everybody.